Dr. Dan, great to see you, fella.
Buddy, how are you?
Yeah, good. How's Christmas?
Really good.
What'd you get up to?
Just good, relaxing time with the family, and yeah, I think the whole kind of Christmas period was nice this year. So yeah, and that's exactly what we want. I've got a young daughter, as you know, so kind of special times really. So yeah. How about yourself?
Yeah, we were up in the mountains, not a lot of snow. Let myself go a little bit over Christmas, back on it now. Although I got to say, my family were very good. They asked for cauliflower mash rather than being forced to have it.
Wow.
They asked for celeriac roasties rather than being forced on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going, no, you can have some potatoes if you want. But yeah, no, it was good. It was really,
Excellent.
really good.
Excellent.
And we're going to go and have a little ski together
We are.
shortly.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Looking great,
Favourite.
mate.
Thank
looking,
you, mate.
Looking on
Yeah.
good form.
Thank you. Yeah, been training hard, and yeah, I think it's interesting, isn't it, Christmas and like January, because I think it's inevitable that you don't stick to the perfect diet plan over Christmas.
Yeah.
Do it. It's just I think it's how long for, and how bad. And so talking to some of my some people that I've been working with and stuff, and some people just I just want to be left alone for 2 weeks over Christmas, and then it's quite a significant kind of jump on the scales afterwards. But I think it's not all about the whole lifestyle thing isn't all about completely starving yourself all the time.
No,
you've got to make it work for you. I think really.
Yeah, and I think if you chase perfection, the second you then do something that doesn't, that you give into a craving or a bit of a desire, and I think if you chase that perfection, then all of a sudden you go, well, I'll leave it. I might as well start next Monday or next month or whatever. Whereas if you realise it's just a journey, and the more you fall off it, as long as you get back on it as quick as you can, it's fine.
Yeah, and I think that's it. Because it's been 10 years, coming up to 10 years on Valentine's Day since I lost my weight, or since I started my own journey. And you use the word journey. It absolutely has been a journey, and with multiple different phases and multiple bumps in the road, and I think anybody who thinks that it's just this eat less, move more, it's just that's it, and you'll be on your way, and there will be no hiccups along the way is sadly mistaken. There's a little bit more to it than that, unfortunately.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, Dr. Dan, because you'd think GPs always fit, always healthy. Dr. Dan, 10 years ago, February, wasn't the picture of health, and in fact, tell everybody about when your story started, because it actually started in a skiing chalet, didn't it? I think.
Yeah, so it was. I think I never was a particularly slim kid, a fairly chubby teenager, and then really during my 20s, I think university, medical school, junior doctor, stress, shift work, all that kind of stuff. The pounds just really piled on, and then I found myself, 10, 11 years ago, firmly in the obese category, I just didn't know what to do about it. I thought I knew the answers, but no, I struggled basically. So I think that's the bottom line. I didn't really know what was being, I had the fundamental basics: eat less, move more, do exercise, but actually making any of that stick in a way that reversed my obesity just wasn't working for me. And so I felt like I'd lost a bit of hope, really. And so by chance, skiing this time 10 years ago, I was just sitting in a chalet, shared chalet. We didn't know these people that were in us. Guy must have been kind of mid-40s, early 50s, looking in really good shape, sitting there as I'm having my porridge and whatever. Don't know why I was having porridge on holiday in France, but I was. And he'd got this black coffee, and he was spooning butter into it. And I was like, what on earth are you doing? That is like such a strange thing to be doing. Thankfully, I'm a curious kind of guy who likes to ask questions, so got chatting with this guy, and thankfully he was the kind of guy who likes to talk about things. And so it's strange. He didn't have a medical background. I can't remember what he did. He was probably an engineer or something like that. And he just kind of opened my eyes to a different way of looking at this whole situation in terms of weight loss. And effectively forgetting calories in and calories out and starting to think about the actual way that food actually impacts our bodies. Because really, when it comes down to it, yeah, we do have energy, but the body doesn't really know, how many calories are in what, but it does know how to respond in terms of hormones.
Yeah.
And that changed my life. It
Yeah.
genuinely changed the path of my life. We wouldn't have met because we've been good friends for about 8 years now.
Yeah.
And I genuinely changed the path of my life because actually within 6 months reversed my obesity.
But you saw that this guy putting butter
Yeah.
into his coffee. You're obese, he's not.
Mm.
But you're going, I'm medically trained. Saturated fat's not good for you. Well, that's what we thought back then.
Absolutely.
And therefore you think he's the one making the mistake. But hey, he looks
Exactly.
great.
Yeah. It's like you see someone spooning your butter into their coffee, and as a GP 10 years ago, I'm like, mate, your cholesterol is going to be awful. But yeah, like how times have changed.
Yeah. So mine was a year before that. I'm with the Maasai in Kenya. I went jogging in the morning, and this Maasai looked a bit weird at me. His name was Philip, probably not his real name, but he looked a bit weird at me. What's he doing? Going for a run? Volunteering to go for a run? You're not chasing an animal. What are you doing? And that afternoon, they caught a goat, and they cooked the goat, and I ripped the fat off the goat. And he said, Mr. Steve, Mr. Big Fat Western. They thought that was a compliment, by the way, not being rude, because all they saw was fat Western men, thinking that's what we wanted to be. Oh, Mr. Steve, big fat Western man, you run, you take the fat off my meat to be big fat Western man. I went, no, I'm doing it because I want to look like you, like a warrior. And he goes, not working. Because we really thought fat was the devil.
Yeah,
absolutely. And here we are, sitting here about 4 days after America changed their food guidelines. And look, lo and behold, what you and I have been preaching for the last 10 years. Look, don't fear the fat, not necessarily about the calories, it's about what food does to hormones. And you look at the fact that America this week have completely changed their food guidelines upside down to what we believe in. Real food all the way through, not a single bit of processed food. Good on them in America, because now things can start to change.
Excellent.
And
I mean, it tends to be that, historically it tends to be that whatever America does, the rest of the Western world eventually follows, which is interesting, isn't it? I just wonder if it will. I think there's a certain height of skepticism, isn't there? But we'll see how that goes, and but hey, huge step in the right direction.
Yeah, well, I haven't told you this yet, but so the week before I went off to Christmas, we were in the House of Lords. Jack, my son, over there was with me, and I had the microphone, and I'm talking about they're saying they're patting themselves on the back for the new 10-year plan for the NHS about they can do this with calories, that with calories, and excuse me, I think you're all barking up the wrong tree still. And then so they let me have the mic for about 10 minutes, and then I did that. You're probably too young, but there was a guy called Inspector Columbus. Columbus would always be the investigator. Columbo.
Yeah, the cigar.
And then he would finish, and then as he was walking out, he'd turn, one more thing. So I did that. One more thing. Can we get rid of the Eat Well guidelines? And one of the politicians stood up and went, it's like, because I'd been talking for too long. Nobody listens to those anyway. And I went, hang on a minute. Apart from the military, the hospitals and our schools, nobody listens to them. And if nobody listens to them, you might as well have no guidelines. And anyway, I was pretty much told to shut up. And and here we are, a few weeks later, and America's changed, so hopefully we will change, because while maybe not everybody follows them, surely you as a GP, you kind of restrain on probably what you can say properly, I guess, when the guideline says eat loads and loads of carbs.
I think it's interesting, isn't it? Because when you think nobody follows them, the question is why? And then my next question is, will the US new guidelines be any different? Because at the end of the day, it's all of the kind of companies out there pushing the processed food and stuff that people are eating instead, you know? And unfortunately, none of these food companies profit out of a real food diet.
The new upside down pyramid for America that's just come out, the big food companies, I hate it, because there isn't a processed bit of food in there, not one, not even bread.
Yeah.
I think it makes a difference. If I go into a school now and give a lecture to the, you know, the headmasters and the people who look after the canteens, their argument can simply be, well, we're told we can eat that because it's in the guidelines. Whereas if I go in and say, well, show me where it says packaged foods, show me where it shows pizza, you know. So I think we've got to do what America's done at some point.
And the whole eat well plate in the UK is shaped like a pizza, isn't it?
Yeah, it really, really is. And even when they got the fruit and the veg, it's full of like raisins and all those things that are full of sugar.
Yeah, pineapple on pizza doesn't count.
Well, there was one study, wasn't there, that when they said red meat's bad for you, and they even counted as red meat a pepperoni pizza. Yeah. So when somebody ticked it to say you've had meat, they counted a pizza as a meat dish, saying you have to be careful with research.
We'll see how it filters through. That'll be the interesting thing, and then, you know, how will people actually take it on? Because, who knows? We'll see. I keep hoping with these kind of things, but you just you never know, do you? No. So time will tell.
Absolutely. Now, if you've got any questions for us, Danny's on our brilliant panel at Clubweb. If you've got any questions about the app, anything about, I know I've been on the BBC a lot this week talking about GLP-1s, as in the weight loss drugs. Happy to talk about those, latest research around there. Anything around the guidelines, anything about what the government are doing, anything you want to ask a GP, but it can't be a medical question because we can't answer those.
I'm good at dodging those. I'm good at dodging those in live environments, don't worry.
Yeah, if you ask a medical question, he sounds like a politician. It's only because he's not allowed to answer medical questions.
We've got a few questions come in.
Okay.
First one was, one of them was about the US dietary guidelines, which you guys, I think, touched on.
Cool.
The other is from a lady called Julie. She says, what are your guys' take on palm oil?
What's our take on palm oil? I talk about it a lot, I guess. From an environmental standpoint, doesn't seem...
I was going to say, I think it's... You can come from too many different angles on it, can't you, really? Like, if you're an orangutan, you know, you can take one stand on it, you know, exactly. And so, I don't know, like... I don't know, just... My immediate thing when I hear about palm oil is... just to forget the health side of things, for one, it's the environmental devastation that it has caused to the world, you know, and, you know, I think that is the crazy thing about it, really. So, yeah, how about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, environmental, absolutely, put that one side. There's a lot of clinical trials around palm oil, and along with a lot of seed oils about driving inflammation and too much, you know, we need some inflammation in the body to deal with, you know, obviously, you know, infections and cuts and things like that, and pathogens. But yeah, for me, I just clump it with the seed oils, vegetable oils, and say, look, you've got to cook in something, cooking butter, cooking ghee, cooking lard, cooking olive oil, as long as you're not going too hot and above the melting point. A lot of the research currently around olive oil for cooking, if you go too high, not only does it become a carcinogenic, but it turns it into a trans fat. So olive oil, absolutely great for salads. Cooking at low temperature, okay. But then coconut oil, butters, ghees, that's the things I cook in.
I think that this is the thing, I mean, like, most of the things you find in terms of palm oil is added, isn't it?
Yep.
You know, like, and so we're starting to get into the realms of, well, if it's got palm oil, is it a processed food? Like an ultra processed food? And my feeling is that probably, because this is one of the tricks, isn't it, that they use? They use palm oil because it's cheap.
Yep.
You know, and it's
flexible, it's cheap, it's easy to use. I mean, you know, you look at Nutella, on the sides it says a hazelnut coconut spread, but the first two ingredients are sugar and palm oil. Why? Because they're both super, super cheap. They are very palatable. But I hope that answers your question. Personally, I'd never cook with them.
Yeah, so this is the thing, isn't it? If you're talking about palm oil, I don't know. I haven't been into the supermarket and gone to the oil section and looked for palm oil. Can you buy it?
I don't know, actually.
I don't think you can.
I don't know. Probably right.
Does anybody know if you can actually buy palm oil on the shelf? So the only thing you do is you'll get it in processed foods.
Yeah.
So what we're talking about here is real food.
Yeah.
All right? No, I don't have it to cook in my kitchen. Butter. Ghee. My high temperature frying unless it's animal fat that
Yeah.
you know I've either rendered off something. So like, you know, I'm cooking some beef or some minced beef or something. It just goes into the pan,
Yeah.
and it cooks in its own fat.
Yeah.
Okay, but otherwise it's going to be ghee.
Yeah. Goose fat,
But
maybe.
yeah. If you can get a hold of it, great. Amazing. But animal fats and butter and things like that is my general choices and stuff. I don't have vegetable oil or any of those things in the house.
Yeah.
Just because horrible stuff. Yeah.
Hope that answers that question. And did we answer the question? If you want any more on the American guideline changes, Jack said there was a few questions on that, but more than happy to answer any question on that because we, So our tree of insulin resistance was actually shown in the White House in July. Say again, mate. Yeah, the big tree of insulin resistance was shown in the White House in July. So we know they've been on message for a while. We know one of our colleagues, Asim Malhotra's been in the States a lot talking to JF Kennedy, it's good. I mean, the BBC asked me the other day, you know, what would you do to improve their new guidelines? I looked at it and I went, probably nothing. You know, there was nothing in there that was processed.
Bring them over here, yeah.
Yeah, bring them over here. Let's just cut and paste like we did in 1977, you know. So, So thank you for that question. Very, very good.
Questions if you want.
Yep.
One is, do you guys think GLP-1s are good for everyone or just select people or not at all?
GLP-1 question. I could talk on this for hours because obviously I've researched it. I put a paper to the government. First of all, I'm not going to say nobody should be. I'm going to ask the doctor in a second because it'd be interesting to get your view, although you're probably more censored than me. So completely uncensored view. When I put my paper to the government in July, I was 100% against it, although I tried to do a balanced view. But then I had so many people say it's changed my life. It has changed my life. So then I went, well, okay, it can't be a bad thing. The problem I have is the vast majority are buying it online without any wraparound support. And there are side effects, there are dangers, and the latest evidence and science suggests that after about 2 years, it stops working. That's why everybody's dose has to go up and up and up. And then if it stops working, if your metabolism has dropped below baseline because you've lost a lot of muscle and you haven't been maintaining that muscle, there's a big risk. So not completely against it. I just think if we can wrap around services more, only get it through GPs with the help and the support, and then also a come off plan, a ramp down plan, that would be my thing.
Yeah, I echo and share a lot of your concerns, and I do think that I'm not sure that GPs could necessarily deliver the wraparound care that is needed, and I have to say it's one of those things because I go back, like I say at the beginning of this, I've been on this journey 10 years now, and it's only in the last kind of year or two that I felt really quite stable with the whole situation, which has kind of come in with the rise of GLP-1s, hasn't it? And so I look back and I go, if somebody had given me that back then, would I have taken it? Probably. And that's my honest answer, is probably. So I understand the frustration, the fact that they've lost hope, and the seemingly this answer here. My question is it a good answer? And I think it's too early to tell. But I have these concerns. I have these concerns because, a huge amount of muscle loss. Because you can't just, even if you went on a diet, I think you've still got, instead of that, I think you've still got to actually think about the exercise side of things. Okay? And so this is the thing, like, we know that if you, up to 40% of the weight loss is muscle, which is a really bad thing.
Yeah.
Like a really, really bad thing.
Yeah.
Okay? It might not seem like a big deal now, but in 20, 30, 40, 50 years, when you're trying to get off the toilet as an elderly person, and you can't because your muscles in your legs, are we just saving up we might be saving money now, but what about social care in the future when
Yeah.
people are effectively being disabled by this stuff? And that is my concern. And, you know, like, the problem is, like, it's all very easy to say, oh, yeah, you need to go and do resistance training. But this is the problem. Like,
Yeah.
if you're in your mid-50s,
Yeah.
hugely overweight, what are the chances that you are going to be able to have the skill set
Yeah.
or the access or whatever
Yeah.
to be able to do sufficient sufficient
Interval training.
strength training,
Yeah.
resistance training to be able to offset that muscle
Yeah.
loss. It's not, you know, like, it's all very well if you're, you know, in your 20s and you've always been lifting, but actually it's not that easy,
Yeah.
is it? And so, like, this is the whole thing about wraparound care.
So I've got a few questions for you because there's a few holes in my knowledge on this. So we know the drug, and apparently it might be even in tablet form soon, is predominantly, I think all brands are the same. I think they're all GLP-1 lookalikes. So they're a synthetic version of a hormone the body makes, predominantly to say you're full. So a couple of questions I've got is, if you take it synthetically and then the doses keep going up and up and up and up as it starts to wane, as in, you know, the body gets resistant to it, do we know yet if it then suppresses, in other words, if you're taking the drug naturally? Give you an example. A blackberry builds its antioxidant defense system lovely. That's why we eat blackberries. But if you take a blackberry and give it herbicides and pesticides, the evidence then is it doesn't become a good antioxidant because it knows, doesn't need to. The question is does the same happen with the GLP-1, that if we're taking it synthetically with an injection and it's something our body makes anyway, do you reckon the body then stops making as much of it naturally?
I don't know. I don't know the genuine answer in that particular case, but yeah, it's like if you always have coffee in the morning. I do like coffee.
Me too.
I will say that. I like coffee in the morning. But, like, you then become in a situation where you need it, don't you?
Yeah.
Like, you need it to get through the morning, but actually you're basically suppressing your own stimulant drugs in your body.
Yeah.
And so, you know, this is where I'm at with it. Is like, you know, I hear a lot of people like, oh, I've tried everything. Okay, yeah, you might have tried everything, but have you tried everything enough?
But also, Dan, when you're obese, and I was obese for 27 years, I was obese, I had tried everything until I found the one that worked. Because I'd tried everything, because back then they were going, oh, you got to go low fat, oh, you just got to count calories and move more. And I tried all those, they just didn't work. It was only when, in fact, the reason we got to know each other, we both went to the same personal trainer, who was the one that, after I'd learnt from the Maasai, and then we both went to the same personal trainer, who was pretty one of the early guys that go, it's not about counting calories, it's not about avoiding fat, it's about avoiding all this sugar and carbohydrates. And I went away, and within a few weeks, the weight was dropping off. So, yeah.
I think this is the thing that I hear from the whole GLP-1 thing is that people say it quietens down the food noise. Okay? And so I get it because I've had the food noise. I get it. I understand the food noise. But actually, you can do that by changing your food.
Yeah.
It's just not as easy as taking a jab.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in fact, in the white paper we put in, one thing that suppresses the body making it naturally is high carbohydrate. A high carbohydrate sugar diet does suppress GLP-1. So second you come off the high carb, go higher fat, or certainly just come off it, more fiber, more protein, more fat, the body will produce more GLP-1s naturally. Get a good night's sleep, the body makes more. Do some resistance exercise, the body produces more. Have more fiber. There's research to suggest collagen. Research by our very own Professor Ben Bickman on our advisory panel. Even things like, is it Yerbamate or Herb? I can never say it. Yerbamate tea, Jack? Herbamate? Yerbamate. Even this one tea they know makes more. So there's lots of things you can do to get the body to make it more.
Yeah, and I think that's it, isn't it? And the other side of it, I think, is in terms of this food noise thing, is something I've had to deal with is food addiction. And I think that for a lot of people, that food noise is actually food addiction. And actually, the solution is not to necessarily jab your way out of that. It's to address the actual underlying cause.
Yes.
And so I'm fundamentally a root cause guy, okay? Rather than might sound strange as a GP, but actually, our whole system's set up to prescribe our way out of problems. And sometimes a prescription's a good thing, okay? Don't get me wrong, like, you got a nasty infection, I want some antibiotics, please, because otherwise that could be fatal. It was, 100 years ago. But, not everything needs to be solved with a prescription pad. So this is the problem I have with them is, I'm fundamentally a root cause guy. But the question was, are they for everybody? And I think, if you genuinely have tried everything, then yeah, why not? Okay. But I just feel like there's this whole big gap in the middle of people who have just been given the wrong advice and haven't been given anywhere near the support to implement that stuff.
And that's also why in the chat feature on the app, we have a breakout room on the chat feature about weight loss jabs for people that are on it, looking to come off it, people that have already come off it, or people that just want support while they're on it. Again, we can't give medical advice, but certainly we can be a good sort of sounding board on that ramp down period, I guess.
I think this is the area where we've got to learn the most is like, are we giving people a drug for life, which is great if you're a pharmaceutical company, but also like actually not necessarily for, the average person. And so, I think we've got so much to learn because, this wasn't the original intention of these drugs. They were developed as diabetes drugs.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they've just, and the rollout has been massive.
And when it was a diabetes drug, the milligrams you were getting was a fraction of what people are after a couple of months have worked up to. So, people are taking 2.5 milligrams, 5 milligrams. When it was for type 2 diabetes, it was a fraction of that dosage. And that's the concern. If the dose keeps going up to keep the food noise down, the dosage goes up. And every time it goes up, the side effects potentially can go up. But then when it stops working, because the body becomes resistant to it, like becomes resistant to leptin and insulin, and then you come off, what's your next step? Because you've got less muscle than you had before. So it's really important if you're on it, you learn the alternatives.
Some more questions.
Yes, mate.
They've asked me if you can read out the questions that I say because they can't hear me.
Okay.
So that people know the context. So maybe just let them know that's what I said.
Okay, Jack's telling me I'm going to say what he says out loud because you can't hear him.
Yeah, perfect. So you might not know the answer, but what do you guys consider high temperatures when cooking with olive oil, and what would the alternatives be at high temperatures?
The question was, what do we consider high temperatures for olive oil, and what would be the alternatives? I'd have to refer to my book because I'm not very good at remembering numbers. It's part of my ADHD. I'm terrible at remembering numbers. I mean, if it smokes, and I mean this seriously, not being facetious, but when you put oil in a pan, if it starts to smoke, you've gone past the smoking point.
Yeah,
That's the logic bit. But personally, I rarely cook in olive oil because if you ramp that up too high, it will turn. It will go past the smoking point. Can be carcinogenic, but also can become a trans fat in the process.
I think, it's just practically speaking, isn't it? So if I'm going to fry a roast in it, I'm going to use like an animal fat, a saturated fat.
Yeah.
Okay. If I'm going to use it in a salad or mayonnaise or something like that, where I'm not cooking it, I'm happy to use like olive oil and things like that. So I think that's the key thing there, isn't it? Like, it's just a case of, it's not. I don't know the numbers either, like because I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
it's in my book. It should be in an article on the app, and if it's not, I will look this evening, and I will make sure there's an article by the weekend about the smoking points of various fats. Jack.
Cool, awesome. Then another question that we've had is, do you think a part of the problem is convenience and the price of unhealthy foods and snacks? If so, what are some good snackable items that you can just pick up off the shelf?
The question is part of the issue with being overweight and metabolic disease. I added a few words there. Sorry. Is part of the issue the fact convenience food tends to be less healthy, and what would be cost-effective alternatives
well,
for snacks? Yeah.
I think. Can I ask it back in a different way?
Go on.
When we didn't have those foods,
Yeah.
what was people's weight like?
Yeah, much better.
Yeah. So is it part of the problem? No, it's the problem.
It is the problem.
The problem.
And also listen to the word snack. I mean, we didn't snack before the snack companies came out. There was no such. So, you know, at most you'd have 3 meals a day. There was a thing in World War II when they were told to eat little, but often when food was scarce and on rations. But the evidence really clearly states these days that the snacking in between keeps the insulin spikes like this, which keeps you at a net positive on insulin. So really we want to cut out the snacks. Ideally, we want to go to 2 meals a day or 3 meals a day, but ideally 2 or 1. But if you are going to snack, I'll tell you some of my favourite go-tos. Can of sardines, 80 pence. Nuts, small pack of nuts, good go-to. Pork scratchings, good go-to, healthy. And, you know, I'm lobbying government that when we change our Eat Well guidelines to something more like America, what we've got to do then is try and make the things that we're saying you should eat more affordable. So we have got to lobby governments to subsidise real farming, subsidise the farmers, whether that be, you know, meat farmers, cattle farmers, you know, vegetable farmers. We've got to subsidise farming and probably penalise those importing sugars, the palm oils, all things you talked about. But we'll never be able to get them to incentivise snacks. So, yeah. What's your go-to snack at the moment, Dan?
I think it's a case of, okay, so I completely agree with your point on snacking, and I don't think we should necessarily be thinking about it as snacking, but I think, thank you for the question, by the way, whoever sent that in, because I think it's really good, but it's a case of, I'm thinking about this as what can I go and grab from the supermarket when I'm on the go, when I haven't had anything prepared.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I think that is, you know, because you go into the supermarket and pretty much immediately you've got your meal deals, haven't you? Your sandwiches, your crisps, your drinks, haven't you? And so, what else can you kind of go? You'll often find a bit of a protein pot in that area in terms of like some eggs, which is great, but generally it's you know, I'm going to be grabbing some nuts. I'm going to be grabbing maybe some Greek yogurt.
Yep.
I actually always carry some of that every time I go into anywhere that gives those little the little wooden spoons.
Yeah.
I keep some of those in my bag. So I've always can go and grab some Greek yogurt, something like that, some nuts, maybe some berries. Those are my kind of like go-to on the go kind of foods. But I think it really helps actually to know and to have a little bit of an idea. If you get caught out, what are you going to eat? Okay, because with the best laid plans in the world, sometimes we find ourselves, and you are trying to eat well. For me, if I didn't have that plan in place, that can be something that could completely derail the situation.
Yep.
All right, and so you know, the rubbish food that you get, you know, in the services or whatever, can be the trigger for a kind of a bit of a spiral. And do you know what? I'll get back on it next week, and next week turns into next month turns into next year, and I think that's important. So actually, for anybody who is dieting or trying to eat better, I think it is really important to have something as a plan. So you don't have to, when you're tired, when you maybe not got the energy to think about it or make good decisions, and you're hungry, you've already made the decision in advance.
Yeah.
So you've got something that you can go for.
Yeah.
Cottage cheese, another one I like.
Yeah, cottage cheese. And also, by the way, on the recipes, when you see Dan Maggs, because about good 20% of the recipes in the app are Dr. Dan's. He for many, many years, Dan had a brilliant website with like 250,000 followers. I think still got it, haven't you? On YouTube.
Yeah.
250,000 followers called Carb Dodging. And this guy is an amazing cook. And I think one of the things that you taught me really, really well was that Sunday afternoon batch cooking, because that's convenience, isn't it? That's like you batch cooking one go, then you've got stuff that you can just pull out. And in fact, when you get to Switzerland skiing next week, all the soups are ready.
Oh, amazing. See, this is the thing, isn't it? Like, I mean, it's if you can prep that stuff in advance, it makes your life so much easier. there's a huge community online. Like I'm talking millions of people. Some of you might know about this, but it's like the prep once, eat for a week kind of situation. So, and you know, some people do this. Then on a Sunday afternoon, they'll prep the entire, you know, chop up all the veggies, put them in Tupperware in the fridge. Some people go and label them, all that kind of stuff. And so all you do is it's like getting a food delivery box, but without the massive amount of packaging, and all the cost and you know, without probably more appropriate portion sizes as well. But it just makes life a lot easier, you know, to be able to do that. Really, it's just involves a little bit of planning, doesn't it? So
a little bit of planning.
We've got quite a few questions that have come in.
Go on, Jack, fire some questions.
Let's do some 2-minute answers, yeah?
Okay, we'll go even quicker. Go on.
So, first things first, regarding obesity in the UK,
Yes.
in 5 years' time, realistically, what does good look like?
So the question is, regarding obesity in the UK, 5 years from now, what does good look like? Well, all the predictions and all the graphs are saying that it's going to carry on going up. I actually don't think it will.
No, I think it's just such mass adoption of GLP-1s that we will start coming down. The question is...
Well, he said 5 years, though, because if they are on it now, my belief is 2 years from now, that gets worse.
Potentially. But, yeah, I think what does good look like? I think it's a really difficult thing, isn't it, really? So, yeah, I mean...
But if we can get rid of the food guidelines, and the good thing is, 10 years ago when we started talking about all this, and I put my first book out, and even that one 2 years ago, people are like, really? Low carb, really? Is it low carb? Is it low fat? I think the tide has turned in the last 6 months, and I think certainly with the American guidelines changing last week, I think pretty much everybody understands that you've got to keep the processed foods down, the sugars down, try and eat real food. I feel like the tide's turning.
I'd like to think so, but the problem is you get a bit of bias being in the world that we live in, don't you? So I think where I'd like to see it is starting with kids, okay? Because I know that our kids have gone to the same school, and so actually the food that they're getting at lunch isn't great. And so I feel like that's where I'd like to see the future of obesity going in 5 years, because that's where it starts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
It's the pudding after the high carb, pasta and meal that is basically instilled into kids. Yeah. Whilst their metabolisms can probably still deal with it and they're being highly active, but it's that wiring of the brain that is coming in from an early thing. And we know when we talk about addiction and all these kind of things that a child's brain is highly neuroplastic. Yeah. And therefore what we are feeding them at that age is literally that. So yeah, it's kind of a roundabout way of asking what's the future of obesity look like, but the future of anything is in our children. And I think that's, if we do have a change in guidelines, I'm then able to go to the school and say, no, you've got to change your food.
I hope that answers that one. Yeah, hopefully good, better.
Yeah. So same person from earlier said, quickly on back on palm oil, you said about how if it's not on the shelf in the supermarket, why would you want it in your food? Do you think that is a good rule to live by for ingredients generally on food?
Yeah, so great question that was. Back to what we said about palm oil, and the question was, is that a good rule to live by, Dan? That if you can't buy it in a supermarket, but it's in processed foods, maybe that's what you should avoid.
I think it is a good rule.
I think it's great.
I think it's a great rule. Yeah. I mean, if you can't pronounce it, if you don't really know what it is, or if you would have to go onto some weird specialist store online to be able to buy it, then it's not really what you'd find in a normal kitchen, is it? And therefore, I wouldn't probably consider it real food. And so, yeah,
it's really interesting. So when we obviously over the years we worked really hard on getting the app and the recipes, and I think you've got probably 200 of your recipes in the app. So we put all the recipes in, like from the Caldesis, from yourself, my recipes. Emma Porter is a type 1 diabetic chef who's amazing. So we put all those recipes in. There's like 1,300 recipes. And then you engineer backwards and you go, right, we've got to make sure that every single ingredient in every single one of those is in the app. So my point is, if you find on a packaged food anything that isn't an ingredient in the app, you probably shouldn't be eating it, because there's thousands of great recipes that didn't need that long word that you can't pronounce, or that E number. So yeah, great question.
If it's things you find in the supermarket, well, no, I mean, like, but I think it's things you wouldn't find in an ordinary kitchen. But I would say, like, sugar, you do find in the supermarket.
True.
I would
Yeah,
still
true.
keep that well away from the kitchen, stuff like that. So it's yeah, but certainly from a perspective of, like, when you talk about palm oil, it's not a normal ingredient that you would find. Generally, they're using it for palatability, flavour, shelf life, and cost.
Yeah. And of course, things like high fructose corn syrup. You know, you think, oh, you must be able to buy that in the supermarket. You can't. They just put it into junk food, and you know, you will not find high fructose corn syrup on the supermarket shelves. But it's in about 50% of the packaged food.
Cool. This is just a quick one for you, I suppose. We've had a few questions on Green 5, actually. Just super quickly, how much is it? What's the best diet to have alongside consuming Green 5? And also, someone was just asking about where they can get Green 5 on its own without the starter kit, which is on Cupboard.
So a few questions about our Green 5 product, which I think is so far superior to AG1 and IM8, but there you go, a bit biased. You can find it on our website. It's about £40 a month. And what's the right diet to go alongside it? So my thinking through January, you're going to see it a lot more in the Daily Digest. In fact, we've got a competition coming for you all in 2 weeks' time. We're going to invite you to a... Don't spoil it. I'll tell you about it later. We've got this great thing happening in about 2 weeks' time. We can ask everybody to join us on a quite a restrictive diet just for 3 days. So like a fast, but with a list of foods, but very restrictive. But the key thing is this: calories. Don't worry too much about calories. I mean, there is some relevance, but not too relevant. Take that and try and think about nutrient density. The food choices you make, are they nutrient dense? So your sardines, we've talked about them a bit today. Eggs we've got everything you need in there to start life. So eggs are good. Sardines, offal, big fans of things like offal. So nutrient density, clean diet, whole foods, real foods, and then underpinning with something like this.
Someone's had to answer the question from earlier about extra virgin olive oil. They're saying they think top whack for it is 180 degrees. Try not to go above that.
108.
180.
180.
So somebody said that in the chat. You've probably seen it if you're on there, that 180 degrees C, I'm presuming, is about the top you would want to go to with olive oil.
Yeah. But again, check out the. It's great feedback, but check out either the book or the articles. And if there isn't one on the articles on the app, I'll definitely get one up this week.
So, do you ever test the cooking surface temperature?
So
you know, in an oven, don't you? You know what kind of temperature in an oven, but what about like on the hob or on the?
I've never done it. No.
Quite fun.
Have you? How do you do it?
So I do it completely going off. Yeah. But one thing I like to do is like burgers on a kind of cast iron kind of plancha type thing. But yeah, it's quite handy to have one of those little thermometers, those infrared thermometers, to kind of work out the temperature. I'm a geek like that.
I'll show you. Somebody bought me, I think it's called a Meator for Christmas. And it's a thermometer that you put into the meat, but it also then, when you put it in the oven, it has two temperatures on the gauge. It has a bit of ceramics in between. So the bit that goes in the meat measures the temperature in the meat, and the bit on the outside, past the ceramics, measures the ambient temperature in the oven.
Okay.
But we'll have a play with that, see if you can do that on the pan as well.
Nice.
Cool. Someone has asked specifically about creatine.
Yes.
Thoughts on creatine? Is it good for weight?
Creatine, great question. And I'm currently writing a script for a YouTube video on creatine. So I have done a ton of research on it over Christmas, funnily enough. And not just for gym bros and bodybuilders. Not at all. There's a load of evidence coming out at the moment about it. Has been another great longevity molecule. I don't know what research you've seen on it or read about it.
I mean, most of the historic science, so creatine basically historically has been extensively investigated as for muscle building.
Yep.
And so we've actually got a huge amount of safety data about it.
Yep.
And so, yeah, absolutely. I take creatine.
Me too.
And I have done for quite some time, but then I do a lot of resistance training as well. So
Yep.
my creatine use is
It's
for that
for that reason.
for that reason. So it's just, it's a chemical that's naturally found in the body anyway, and so you're kind of enhancing your levels of that, and yeah. So from like, I always have to think about the safety of these kind of things as well, because that's the hot topic that we were talking about earlier, is how safe are these things. But creatine, like, absolutely seems to be a very safe thing to be taking, and so yeah. Absolutely.
And when our very own Professor Ben Bickman says he's taking 20 grams a day
Wow.
for the brain, not for muscle building, but for the brain, I haven't got up to there yet. I'm going to do a bit more research myself, because even when there's research out there, even when the people you respect the most, even on your own panel, say that, you still got to go and look for yourself and read. But yeah, I'm somewhere between 5 and 10 grams every day. And what I love about it, it's not an expensive supplement.
No.
It's like sub 10 pence a day, I think. So yeah, do your own research. Massive fans of it, not even just for the muscle side of it, although I do tend to take mine normally before the gym. But do your own research. Yeah, I think doctors saying the evidence suggests, because there's so many people taking it, that it's safe. And it is something that the body produces. So, it's very abundant in the human body. So you're not introducing it to something that the body doesn't produce.
Rachel said, do you ever find that it impacts your sleep at all?
Creatine. So
Great
the question
question.
was, does creatine impact sleep? I've not noticed that. No.
And I can't answer either, because I do tend to take it in the mornings.
Thoughts on cheese?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Thoughts on cheese, the question was. Yes.
Thoughts on cheese, Dr. Dan's already said cottage cheese would be on his go-to quickies. Paleo people don't really believe in cheese. I believe massively in the microbiome. So because of that, I like fermented foods, because I think fermented foods are great for the microbiome. I think it's a good source of protein. I think there are different types of cheese. They tend to fall into two groups, as far as I'm concerned: casein 1, casein 2. There's an article in the app about that. So some people are sensitive to cheese or intolerant of cheese, but actually they're only intolerant to casein 1 rather than the casein 2. So some people can actually, when you read the article, can get back on cheese. But my view is I like it.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, is views on cheese. I was thinking, what's your favourite kind of cheese? Actually, yeah. Yes. Gosh, I mean, it's been Christmas. Cheese seems to come into your house in ways that you don't think, and we're heading off to Switzerland. So my mind's all about cheese. I'm sure a lot of cheese will be consumed. But like cheese is a delight, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so, but like, it's just one of those kind of like wondrous foods that just you can kind of dive into, and there's loads of different options, isn't there? So
I'm gonna ask you a question. It's not rhetorical, so please answer it any way you want, Dan. About cheese. So when we all learnt this thing about 10 years ago, it was actually called a low LCHF. It was called a low carb, high fat diet, because people thought, well, if you're going low carb, you've got to go high fat. We've kind of come away from that saying these days, because actually there's a belief back then you can eat as much fat as you want and you'll never get fat. But what we started to find was people that went low carb, high fat, cheese was the one that they overindulged in, and some people actually started to put the weight back on. So that there is a bit of a caveat on there, that if you're reading all the old sort of advice around it, have as much as you want, you may sometimes with high fat have to have portion control.
Yeah, and I think similarly, one of my areas of interest is food addiction. And actually, the foods that people tend to be highly addicted to are your high processed foods, your sugars, and all that kind of stuff. But there are other foods that pass for some people, and cheese is one of those.
Yeah.
And so cheese can be a food that really is easy for people to significantly overeat.
Yeah.
And so it's certainly one to be aware of for a certain subsection of people, really. So yeah, but I can completely agree, and I think we get very obsessed with the low carb and then the high fat, but we often don't talk about the protein.
Yep.
And actually, that's where, as somebody who's been in this space 10 years now, I'm far more concerned about the amount of protein I'm getting in than trying to heavily restrict my carbohydrates for somebody who's now got back to a normal weight and sustained that for quite a lot of time.
Yeah.
But actually, my main goal over the next, and it has to be certainly a longer term goal over the next 5 to 10 years, is actually more about muscle growth because, which is we come full circle to the concerns I have about GLP-1s, that actually when we start to zoom out and look at it, actually, is it about weight or is it about body composition? And so muscle is everything when you zoom out and look over the life course. Which is one of the reasons I have such an issue with the GLP-1s.
Yeah, I mean, I go for a DEXA scan every 2 years, and she goes, "Oh look, you've lost a bit more weight since last time." I went, "Honestly, I'm not really bothered about that. How's my muscle mass?" Because obviously sarcopenia. I'm 60 in 2 weeks' time, and you look at what normally would happen if you don't do the exercise, sarcopenia, muscle loss, and more about how do you protect that muscle, and obviously making sure you've got sufficient protein. And I've been reading a lot. I was chasing an even bigger goal, going, I need to do more. It's hard to eat a load of protein. And I've written lots about it should be, if you're trying to increase muscle, it should be 1 gram per ideal pound of body weight. But the latest science, again, says maybe it's not even that much. If you enjoy it, do it, but don't obsess. But you do have to have some make sure you're getting some protein and good protein.
And I think that's the thing is, actually, I think this is where it's really helpful to track it.
Yeah.
Because actually, you'd be shocked at just how little some people are eating. I take like my grandmother back in the day, all right? Cereal for breakfast, protein?
None.
Pretty much none.
Yeah.
All right? A little ham sandwich at lunch with some crisps on the side, like 1 slice of ham.
2 grams of protein.
Yeah. All right. And then maybe meat and 2 veg for dinner.
Yeah, a little bit more. Yeah.
It's not a lot, is it? But I mean, guys, tell me, is that different to what a lot of people eat on a day-to-day basis?
And back to what the snacks I like to go for. Sardines, 20 grams of protein. Little can, 20 grams of protein.
Yeah.
So always one eye. If you are snacking on, is it at least getting me some protein?
Yeah, is it really interesting just doing a bit of a protein audit? Because like, even if you think about like you get loads of protein and you're eating loads of eggs, actually eggs, you have to eat a lot of eggs to get the protein in as well. So yeah.
Little eye on time, so some snappy answers on these ones.
Snappy answers, here we go.
Dan, you might not be able to answer this, but one of the users said he's been on a keto diet and lost 4 stone since listening to you about 16 months ago.
Yes.
But is now being told that their cholesterol is high. They say, what is the answer?
It's a very difficult one, really, because...
So I'll ask the question for you. Somebody's been following Dan's diet, has lost 4 stone on a keto diet in 16 months, but has been told by their doctor, but their cholesterol's now high.
Yeah, so it's really interesting, and we're learning a lot about this at the moment, because there's been a lot of science done, which I think we're going to start to see more and more published over the next kind of year or so. So there's a chap in the States called Dave Feldman, who is actually far more knowledgeable than me on this.
He's an engineer.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting because, there is so much, we talk about cholesterol as being good cholesterol and bad cholesterol, and actually it's just a gross oversimplification of it, really. And so certainly from my perspective as a GP, actually, you've got to take it in the whole thing, the whole situation. So, generally when someone's lost 4 stone in weight, their blood pressure's coming down. Now, blood pressure is, without a doubt, and I'd hope beyond argument, the biggest risk factor for heart disease, okay? The cholesterol thing is still widely debated, okay? And so, and then it's the rest of the stuff, isn't there? Like, what does 4 stone weight loss now enable you to do? And I said earlier on, it is a journey, and there you go. You have to then go on, and you have to consider the exercise side of things. Are you then able to do significantly more exercise because you've lost 4 stone in weight? And what's the impact of that on your overall health? It's not just about one number on a blood test result. You have to consider the whole person as well.
And if you're worried about your cholesterol, you're obviously the sort of person that watches this sort of shows, so you invest in your own health. go and do a bit more research. Go and read books like The Great Cholesterol Con or Statin Nation, and then not go back and belittle your GP, because Dan's a GP, but go back armed with your own viewpoint or questions, and then question everything. Question everything.
Someone has said, how should they balance out the food they eat in a day between meals? Should they split the portions equally? Should they have a smaller breakfast, large dinner?
Yeah, question is, how do you balance out the meals you do eat in a day? Because of course, so many people have always said, "Oh, you shouldn't have a big meal late in the day." I'll quickly give my answer, then we'll give you Dan's. So, should you have big breakfast, small lunch, da 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 da? All I can tell you what I do, and that is pretty much one meal a day, dinner in the evening. I can tell you what Dr. Ben Bickman does, who's Professor Ben Bickman on our panel. He tends to have a big lunch, because he said if he skips lunch, he then overindulges in the evening. So he tries to have a big protein heavy lunch and then a smaller dinner. And we're all different.
I mean, I think it's finding out what works for your lifestyle. So I typically work from home, unless when I'm not doing medical stuff. But so it would be. I'd usually be able to be fairly flexible when I first eat my first meal, which means I can pretty much tune that into when do I get hungry, which is a really nice way of eating, isn't it? So, but typically, actually, it depended like going and doing quite a lot of kind of really ramping my exercise up, over the last 18 months. Like probably 2 meals a day, but I sometimes do eat 3 meals a day as well. So yeah, nothing wrong with it. Key thing for me is, when's the last meal of the day? Okay. Generally, I'm thinking about 5 p.m. All right. Because that's, for me, is one of the big one is, the closer you eat to bedtime, the worse it is. You become more insulin resistant through the day. And so it's really good to be able to leave a really fairly significant, like 3, 4, 5 hour gap. Okay. I think culturally, as we've got busier and busier and busier, that meal has shifted later and later into the evening. But actually, was it always that time, or would you eat with the kids at kind of 5 o'clock, or maybe around that time? So certainly, having a young daughter at the moment, we try to eat that at that time. Yeah. Because that's when I feel that's optimal as well, not only for family life, but also for health-wise as well.
Good advice.
Would you guys choose grass-fed minced beef over usual supermarket minced beef?
Would we choose grass-fed over non-grass-fed beef? We're talking about.
I wonder if that person is in the States or in the UK.
I was going to say in the UK. So here you go. If you got endless money, you probably go organic everything, grass-fed everything. But if I was on a budget, I would first of all look at what the government call the dirty dozen. So, things that are on the dirty dozen list, most herbicides, pesticides, things like strawberries. I won't buy strawberries unless they are organic because of the risk. But when it comes to grass-fed beef, I mean, where do you see most of the cows in the UK? They're normally outside most of the time.
Thing is, it's generally a question that is more relevant to the US audience. Because in the UK, the vast amount of beef that we have is here, and it is pasture raised, possibly grain finished.
Finished, yeah.
And so the majority of that animal's life has been on grass.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not always true in the US and various other places where, we talked about palm oil. The other big thing is soy.
Yeah.
Deforestation, planting soy,
Yeah.
not for human consumption, but for animal consumption. And so it's soy beef. And so we've got a significant change in the consumption. Yeah. And so, of course.
I mean, in America as well, more antibiotics used on cattle than on humans. Not the case in the UK. So
it's a whole different kind of, it's a whole different thing. So you've got two reasons. Like, actually, the profile of the meat is, arguably better if you're having grass-fed meat, but also there's also the environmental side of things behind it as well, which is that a lot of deforestation occurs for these soy plantations and stuff. So yeah, complicated arguments, guys. I'm not
But-
saying I'm not saying anything's right or
but
wrong.
great
it's just
question,
there's complications.
But personally, I don't worry about beef if it's British beef.
Right, last few questions. Right, super quickly. What would you swap for sardines if you don't like them?
If you don't like sardines, canned mackerel's really good, similar profile. Canned tuna's really good, similar profile. Canned salmon, slightly different profile, but good.
What if you don't like fish?
If you don't like fish,
Eggs?
eggs. If you want it in a can, though, 'cause the question was can. You know what? I used to think that corned beef wasn't good because it had the word corned, but corned has nothing to do with corn, as you know. It was called corned beef because when they used to do the corned beef, the salt was big pieces of salt, and they called that corn.
That's interesting.
So corned beef, all the research I've done, it's inexpensive. I'm not talking about Spam or American ham, but corned beef if you want it in a can and you don't like fish.
It's interesting. Fond memories of corned beef as a kid, and the can with the little thing.
Yeah,
I obviously got an international audience here on YouTube, but I don't know if corned beef like translates to a US audience.
I don't know.
Google it if not, guys.
Right, one penultimate question. You might not be able to do anything about this, Dan, but as an FSHD sufferer doing keto, they feel they've lost muscle as well as fat.
FSHD.
Is a facioscapulohumeral muscular dystrophy,
Oh, okay.
genetic muscular condition.
Okay, fine.
They feel that they've lost muscle as well as fat. How would you suggest about building muscle, despite the fact that exercise is quite challenging for them because of the nature of the condition?
I'd first want data. I think this is the thing, isn't it? Because muscle is everything, really, and so you need actual data. And so, I mean, so we talked about 40% muscle loss on GLP-1s. If you're not careful, you'll lose muscle on any sort of diet, and that's
Yes.
one of the reasons I'm quite obsessed with protein. But yeah, and you know, there's some situations that are just challenging. There's some situations that are just challenging, really, isn't it? And that's where, you know, we kind of have to go beyond just simple kind of YouTube advice in terms of, you know, like you have to look at the whole person, and like I'm not sitting here and saying that one diet is good for everybody. There are huge nuances to these kind of things, and you know, a lot of the stuff we're talking about here is principles rather than prescriptive.
Yeah, and again, I don't know that condition at all well. All I know, and I'm not advocating.
Steve, I've got a degree in medical genetics and medicine, and I don't know that condition very well. There's a lot of rare and unusual conditions out there as well. So.
And I'm not advocating a carnivore diet in any shape or form, but I find those that stick to protein-heavy foods, whether it be meats, cheeses, poultry, chicken, the Sean Bakers of this world, the Paul Saladino's of this world, the Anthony Chafees of this world, tend to just find it easier to maintain muscle with a protein-heavy diet.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think that's the key, isn't it? You know, when with a very high protein diet, it becomes a lot easier.
Yep.
So yeah, but again, nuance to that as well. So.
Yep.
Dan, and then final question for Dan: are you doing any more talks on YouTube, Dan? And I guess what are you doing at the moment?
Yeah. So the question is, am I doing any more talks on YouTube? So guys, I'm taking a bit of time away from YouTube at the moment. I've got my own little app, which is very different from Steve's app, but complementary, I think, actually.
Without doubt.
So yeah, I've been working on that over the last kind of a few months, really. So yeah, I will be back on YouTube very soon because actually, it's coming up to the 10-year anniversary of my weight loss. So I've got a few videos that I want to make about this stuff. But yeah, I'm kind of very much like Steve. I think where we've come to with this is, we spoke about it earlier. You've got making it really easy for people, sticking them on GLP-1s, but also that all that work in the middle about all that knowledge about exercise, all that knowledge about how to eat better, all that knowledge, which, Steve, you're doing a lot of great work with the app out there, and we've put lots of videos out on YouTube, all that kind of stuff. But actually, I think a lot of the solution is in that area, and it's trying to make it easier for people. And so what I'm working on is helping families just easier to eat better.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And couple of things are just quickly on the app, a couple of updates. As you know, you can submit recipes. Some of our back end wasn't working great, so if you have submitted recipes, we can now see them, which is good. So the next week or so, we're going to look at a lot of the recipes you've all submitted.
If your back end's not working great, I got some tablets for that.
Well, maybe we'll leave it on that note. A different type of back end, Dan. But there we go. And yeah, thanks for all your comments and your questions. Don't forget, there's the chat room on the app. So any questions you've got in there, feel free to keep them coming in. That's it, Dan.
Thanks,
Thank you,
guys.
mate.
Cheers.
Lovely
Thanks.
seeing you. Thank everybody for their questions too. And yeah, you've heard it. More YouTubes will be coming from Dan, and we'll do another one of these shortly. God bless you. Have a great evening.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.